Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are focusing our lens on a very specific slice of the map, the United Kingdom. And honestly, looking at the research stack we've pulled together, reports from Morgan Stanley, government roadmaps, some pretty intense industry news, it feels like we're looking at a laboratory experiment for the rest of the world.
That is a great way to put it. The UK is currently trying to position itself as this, global AI superpower. The government rhetoric is relentless.
It really is. It's all modernization, growth, opportunity.
Right.
But when you actually peel back the glossy press releases and look at the raw data, there's a very different story unfolding underneath. It's almost a paradox.
It is.
On one hand, you have a government slamming its foot on the accelerator, trying to automate everything from A&E wards to classrooms to save money. And on the other hand, the actual workforce, the people, are reporting higher anxiety and more job losses than almost any other major economy.
It creates a massive tension,
Yeah.
and that is what we need to unpack today. This isn't just the generic robots are coming for your job conversation.
No.
This is specifically about why the UK seems to be at the sharpest edge of this transition compared to, say, the US or Germany. It's about a disconnect between the speed of adoption and the reality of the infrastructure.
And to really understand that disconnect, I think we have to start with this Morgan Stanley research. Because the numbers didn't just surprise me. They actually worried me.
Yeah.
They compared AI adoption in the US, Japan, Germany, and the UK. Now, usually when we talk about AI in the US, the narrative is boom times.
Right. In the US, the data shows that companies adopting AI are largely using it to fuel net job creation.
Yeah.
They are seeing efficiency gains, about 11.5% productivity boosts, and they're using that extra capacity to expand. It's an abundance mindset. We can do more, so let's hire more to sell it.
Okay, so in America, the robots help grow the pie. Everyone gets a slightly bigger slice. But in the UK,
It is the complete opposite. UK companies are reporting an 8% net loss in jobs associated with AI adoption.
wait, hold on. We are using the exact same software. It's the same large language models, the same tools. How can the result be hiring people in New York but firing them in London?
Well, it comes down to economic confidence and strategy. The Morgan Stanley analysis suggests that UK firms are using AI defensively. The UK economy has been, let's just say, sluggish.
Right.
So instead of using productivity to grow, they are using it to protect margins. It's not how do we expand, it's how do we survive with fewer wages on the books.
So it's efficiency for the sake of survival, not growth.
Ah.
A grim distinction.
It is, and it leads to what sociologists are calling the hollowing out of the workforce. And before you assume this is about factory workers or checkout clerks, it's not.
This is the hollow middle concept from the notes.
Exactly. The data shows these cuts are heavily concentrated in early career positions, people with 2 to 5 years of experience.
Okay.
Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, actually warned about this explicitly. He said, London is at the sharpest edge because the city isn't built on factories. It's built on finance, creative services, law, and consulting.
Basically, the junior analyst, the paralegal, the marketing assistant, the people who, make the PowerPoints and summarize the meeting.
The training grounds of the corporate world.
Yeah.
And this reality is filtering down to the workers. We have a survey here from Randstad involving 27,000 workers. In the UK, 27% fear their job will completely disappear within 5 years. That is more than a quarter of the workforce living with that sword hanging over their heads.
And what stood out to me in that survey was the generational split.
Yeah.
You'd expect the older workers, the ones who maybe struggle to convert a PDF, to be the most worried.
Yeah.
But they aren't.
No, the baby boomers are relatively self-assured. They're seeing out the clock, or their roles rely on deep, decades-long relationships that AI can't touch yet.
Right.
It's Gen Z that is panicking. They are just entering this hollow middle, and they are realizing that the entry-level work they expected to do, the work you use to learn the ropes, is being automated before they even get a chance to master it.
Speaking of mastering it, we have to talk about the Mercer story from the Financial Times. Because if I'm a Gen Z listener, this might sound like a horror movie or maybe a winning lottery ticket, depending on how you look at it.
It is such a visceral example of this transition.
So Mercer is a Silicon Valley startup valued at, $10 billion? And their business model is fascinating. They hire professionals, lawyers, radiologists, coders, and pay them incredibly well. We're talking up to $95 an hour.
Which is fantastic money.
It is. If I'm a junior lawyer grinding away for peanuts and someone offers me $95 an hour, that doesn't sound like a dystopia. That sounds like I'm winning.
It feels like winning in the short term, sure. But look at what you're actually doing for that money. You aren't arguing a case. You aren't diagnosing a patient.
I'm not.
You're training the AI to do those things.
I'm grading its homework.
You're teaching the machine how to replace you. There was a quote from a Harvard economist, Zoe Cullen, that really stuck with me. She called it the uncomfortable bargain.
Okay.
He said, if what you're teaching the model to do is your core expertise, by definition, you're reducing your labor power.
So you are selling your competitive advantage for an hourly wage.
Exactly. You are cashing out your career capital. Mercer's CEO, Brendan Foody, is quite open about this. He envisions a future where humans just manage dozens of AI agents.
Right.
But you have to ask, if the AI learns the core skill, do you need 30,000 lawyers managing agents? Or do you just need 300 really, really good ones?
And the Morgan Stanley data suggests the UK market is deciding they only need the 300.
Precisely.
So the private sector is shedding junior staff to cut costs. You might expect the government to step in and try to stabilize the labor market, maybe slow things down.
You would think so. But the UK government is actually looking at those same cost-cutting tools and saying, we want in.
They aren't trying to slow the train.
Yeah.
They're trying to board it.
They are trying to drive it. The Government Digital Service, the GDS, released a roadmap aiming for $45 billion in efficiency savings.
Wow.
Now, efficiency savings is usually politician speak for budget cuts, but the scale here is massive.
$45 billion is not pocket change.
Right.
And looking at the examples they're touting, it's not just about printing fewer forms.
No, not at all. They are deploying AI to predict demand in 50 NHS accident and emergency wards. That helps with resource allocation, which is great.
Sure.
But my favorite example of pure ruthless efficiency is a tool called Consult.
This is the one for processing public feedback, right?
Yes. So usually when the government does a public consultation on a new law or a new building, they get thousands of written responses.
Right.
It used to take hundreds of days for humans to read, sort, and analyze all that text.
I can imagine. It's tedious work.
It is. But this AI tool does it in a median time of 23 seconds.
From hundreds of days to 23 seconds.
Yes. Now, if you're a taxpayer, that sounds amazing. Why pay for months of manual labor when a script can do it before you finish your coffee?
Yeah.
But if you're the civil servant whose job was reading those consultations, you're back in that anxiety bracket we talked about.
It really highlights that tension. We want efficient government, but efficient government means fewer people on the payroll.
Exactly.
However, I want to be fair here. It's not just about firing paper pushers. We have to talk about the NHS lung cancer trial at Guy's and St. Thomas's Hospital, because this is the golden use case.
It really is. And it's so important to acknowledge this because it saves lives. Lung cancer is Britain's biggest cancer killer, and a huge part of the problem is that by the time you catch it, it's often too late.
And the biopsies are invasive.
Right.
It's not just a simple blood test.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's difficult, painful, and slow. So this trial combines AI with robotics. The AI analyzes the CT scan and can spot cancerous nodules as small as 6 millimeters.
Which is what? The size of a grain of rice.
Even smaller. And spotting it is one thing, but getting to it is another. The system uses a robotic catheter to navigate deep into the lung with incredible precision to get the biopsy. They've turned what used to be weeks of repeat scans and uncertainty into a single half-hour procedure.
See, that is incredible. It addresses a huge inequality gap because lung cancer hits poorer communities harder, it's faster, it's better. It's hard to argue against that kind of progress.
You can't, and that's the complexity of the UK's situation. You have these pockets of genuine life-saving innovation. You've got the government tendering for AI tutoring tools for 450,000 disadvantaged pupils to close the education gap.
And they've got ARIA, the UK's R&D agency funding AI scientists.
Yes, autonomous systems that can design and run their own lab experiments. The government views AI as the solution to stagnant productivity. They are essentially betting that AI can fix the public service backlog that human labor hasn't been able to fix because it's just too expensive.
So we have a clear destination, a high-tech, automated UK where services are fast and cheap. But, and this is a massive but, are we actually ready for it? Because when I looked at the infrastructure stories in our stack, it felt like the wheels were coming off.
It's the classic case of the software moving faster than the physics. You can have all the AI ambitions you want, but AI lives in data centers. And data centers are physical things.
Right.
They need land, they need water, and they need a staggering amount of power.
The M25 data center debacle really illustrates this. And for our international listeners, when we talk about the M25, we're talking about the main orbital highway around London. It's prime territory.
Right. And the government has designated data centers as critical national infrastructure. That sounds very serious. It puts them on par with power stations or dams.
It does.
It implies we will get this built no matter what.
But then you had a proposal for a hyperscale data center right there near the M25.
Mm.
£1 billion of investment. And the government had to quash its own planning approval. Why?
Because of a serious logical error regarding environmental impact. And this is where we need to explain the green belt.
Okay.
In the UK, there are strict laws preventing construction on the countryside winging London to stop urban sprawl.
So they tried to build a computer fortress in a protected field.
Essentially. But it wasn't just about saving the view. A hyperscale data center isn't just a warehouse. It drinks water and eats electricity like a medium-sized city.
No.
The planners realized this facility would strain the local resources to the breaking point. It highlights this massive friction. You can't have an AI boom without the physical buildings to run it, and the UK's planning system is notoriously slow and protective.
So we want the AI, we just don't have anywhere to plug it in.
Or the legal clearance to build the socket.
And it's not just the hardware laws, it's the software rules too. I was reading about Slingshot AI pulling out of the UK. This is a mental health chatbot, right?
Yes, Ash, a therapy chatbot. And Slingshot isn't some garage project. They have $93 million in backing, but they just pulled the plug on the UK market entirely.
That seems drastic. If the government is so pro-AI, why leave?
Because they couldn't figure out the rules. They cited a lack of a clear regulatory pathway. And this is a really tricky area. Is an AI therapist a well-being product, like a meditation app or a yoga video? Or is it a medical device, like a pacemaker or a drug?
I see. If it's a meditation app, you just launch it.
Mm.
If it's a medical device, you need years of trials and certifications.
Exactly. And the legal liability is massive if you get it wrong. The UK regulators haven't drawn that line clearly yet. So Slingshot said, it's too risky, we're out.
Right.
This is significant because if you want to be an AI superpower, you can't have companies leaving because they don't know if they're breaking the law.
It seems like the regulators know they're behind, though. The Turing Institute just released that AI regulatory capability framework.
Which is a very fancy name for a self-assessment tool. It's basically a checklist for regulators to grade themselves on whether they understand AI.
That feels a bit like a student marking their own homework.
It is a tacit admission that they currently lack the capability to govern this effectively. They are trying to catch up, but the technology is sprinting while the bureaucracy is limping.
So we've painted a picture here. We've got job anxiety and cuts in the private sector. We've got aggressive government adoption, but a failure to build the necessary infrastructure.
Yeah.
Feels a bit gloomy.
It does.
But I want to pivot to something that might offer a glimmer of hope, or at least a different perspective on who wins in this economy.
This is the Jensen Huang pivot.
The NVIDIA CEO, the guy selling the shovels in the gold rush.
Yes. He made a prediction that sounds counterintuitive in the age of AI. He predicts six-figure salaries for plumbers, electricians, and construction workers.
Because someone has to build those data centers that the M25 planners are arguing about.
Precisely. The infrastructure build-out for AI is physical. It needs cooling systems, massive power grids, reinforced concrete.
Right.
You can't ask ChatGPT to wire a high-voltage server farm. You can't prompt an LLM to pour cement.
So while the junior lawyer is trading their replacement on Mercer for $95 an hour temporarily, the electrician is seeing demand skyrocket permanently.
That's the theory. The physical world is becoming a premium domain for human labor. We're seeing this with the rise of physical AI to industrial robots.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4.7 million of them in operation now. Amazon, Siemens, they're deploying robots that move in dynamic environments. But again, someone has to maintain them. Someone has to install them.
That represents a huge shift in how we think about status careers.
Yeah.
For decades, the advice was go to university, get a desk job, avoid manual labor. Now, the desk job is the most vulnerable place to be.
And the corporate world is acknowledging this.
Mm-hmm.
Deloitte is overhauling their job titles in a way that confirms this shift.
Right.
The classic pyramid model of consulting, where you have an army of junior analysts doing the grunt work at the bottom, is disappearing.
They're actually ditching the title analyst.
They are moving towards specific technical titles. Software engineer 3, data scientist. The entry-level generalist role, the person who just crunches numbers or makes slides, is vanishing.
Which brings us back to that anxiety Gen Z is feeling. If the entry-level grunt work is gone because an AI does it in 23 seconds and the ladder is being pulled up, how do you learn?
That is the defining question of this transition.
So let's try to synthesize all of this for the listener, because we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We have a paradox. The UK is aggressively adopting AI in public services to save money, 45 billion of it. But the private sector is using that same tech to shed jobs, specifically junior white-collar jobs, at a rate higher than the US or Germany.
And amidst all that, the physical infrastructure, the power, the buildings, and the regulatory rulebook are struggling to keep pace.
Yeah.
We are rushing toward a destination that we haven't quite built the road for yet.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm worried about my career, what's the takeaway? Is it learn to weld?
Well, maybe, but I think it means the safe corporate career path in the UK is changing faster than anywhere else. If your job involves processing information, summarizing text, or basic analysis, you are in the danger zone, especially in this UK cost-cutting environment.
So safety lies in the physical world, or in being the expert that oversees the AI.
Yes, high-level judgment. But the gap between entry-level and expert is widening into a canyon.
And that leads me to the final thought I can't shake. We talked about Mercer, about professionals training their replacements. We talked about Deloitte removing the bottom of the pyramid.
Right.
If the government succeeds in automating public services, and the private sector succeeds in automating junior roles, we are effectively dismantling the training grounds of the workforce.
That's the real danger. It's not just about unemployment today. It's about capability tomorrow.
Exactly. If AI does all the entry-level work, how does anyone ever get enough experience to become the expert required to supervise the AI? We are burning the ladder that we need to climb. And if we don't figure out a new way to train people, not just to use AI, but to understand the work AI is doing, we might find ourselves with incredibly efficient systems and no humans left who truly understand how to fix them when they break.
That is the paradox we have to solve.
And on that slightly terrifying but necessary thought, that is all we have time for on this deep dive. It's a lot to process, but staying informed is the first step. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.